So, I wanted to talk about being whole and what it really means to move through space and time and to move through every day, especially when you're on a journey of self-discovery and getting closer towards your truth and what that means for you. And there's something that I feel that's very deeply programmed, which is that there's certain aspects of life which we as human beings focus on more, because generally that's where the focus has been, um, when we are going through our days and whatnot. So what I mean by this is we can go through days and go to the office, be productive, then go to the studio, make a song, then go and have a mentoring session, then go and read a book. And in our mind, that sounds like a great day. It's a productive day, did well. But on the other hand, if we have a day that is emotional and less of those things happen, and what seems to happen is more you're in your room lying in your bed listening to sad music, or you are eating a lot, just cooking, um, or you are just going for tiny little walks on the beach or in the park or whatever the case may be. We will see that as a little bit less productive. It's sort of part of how, at least in my mind, the general consensus goes with what productivity and what it means to be a productive and successful human being, and to be making conscious, or rather taking steps towards being a conscious human being, or being a successful human being, or whatever the case may be. And one thing that I found inside of myself is that was important, was to redefine what it means to be a human being and to go on the journey of self-discovery. What do I mean by that? Well, it's so profound. I think of it as like the flower of life, that sacred geometric pattern, which encapsulates, or encompasses rather, every single possibility in this universe through ratios and whatever the case is. And that symbol in itself provides a very great platform to understand, what does it mean to be a human being, or rather to give yourself more space. And by taking this idea and saying, okay, what is it to be a human being? Why in my mind do I think I'm being more productive when I'm reading, going to the office, closing a deal, doing what it is all those kind of things. I'm sure we all get the point. And why not when I just wake up from my sleep and have that period in the morning where I'm hazy and just floating in space and time, and just really trying to come back into my body after a night out in the dream world. Why is that not seen as important? Why am I trying to move through that so quickly? On top of that, one very big emphasis would be the transitions. So that gray space in between one activity and another. Just finished doing my movement for the day, my exercise for the day, and now immediately, okay, cool, what's next? Let's go produce some music. Jumping from one to the other like that, and what happens, at least in my mind, is I project myself to that future without realizing exactly where I am here. And what that does is it makes me do those in between things. So, for example, going to go shower, going to go fill my belly with food, and then opening the studio to go do some studio production. In my mind, that shoots me so far forward. I start thinking about all the different things I'm going to be doing in the studio, whatever. And not to say that it's necessarily a bad thing, but what can happen is you become unconscious in that, and you start becoming very automatic in those between processes. And going back to it is, why don't we see these in between processes just as important? Keeping yourself completely present throughout all of them. And this is the sort of fundamental topic that I wanted to bring through and maybe give and hopefully expand your mind's possibility of what it means to be productive, what it means to be a human being, what it means to walk through the day in a meaningful way. That it has so much more to it than we have boxed. We've boxed such small little, like there might be a wide range of different things that make us feel productive, but everything in between that is still very important. It's still extremely important parts of who we are. That just lying on the couch, that having a cry, that these different parts of us, that you're brushing your teeth, being confused, those are all as important, and working through those is just as important as doing anything that you're trying to do in terms of creating or being productive. All these things are just as important. And I think for myself, it was so powerful once I started to give myself the awareness that, hey, yes, I'm focusing very heavily on music and movement and Chat of Africa, and getting my message out there and building that. But in between all of that, in between all these big goals, these, you can call them maybe the top tiered goals, there's life that happens in between that. There's things that happen. There's emotional roller coasters you go on. There's people that you meet that shift your heart a little bit. There's interactions you have with people. There's food that you're going to make, and there's challenges psychologically you're going to go through in between all of that. And giving yourself the time, giving yourself the understanding that, hey, yes, those things come, and yes, those things are just as important as what are my main goals. You know, they make up who I am. You are this being that is so infinite in possibility, and is so amazingly simple but complicated at the same time, that putting ourselves in these small boxes doesn't allow for the idea of life to actually flow through us. You know, life is gonna take us on these, we're gonna flow that way, we're gonna be pushed that way. And if we're too hard programmed into these set goals, when life does push us this way, when our heart and our guts and our whole being pushes us in ways that might mean that we need to let go of that, because we wait so much of our happiness and our feeling of productivity and our feeling of strength and power in those different very limited exercises or goals that we have, then what can happen is we can cause ourselves pain, we can cause ourselves suffering, separation, because we're wondering, why aren't we doing these things? I haven't done them for 3 days now, I've just been doing with emotional shit, or what's wrong with me? Whereas that is not necessarily the most constructive way to think about it, especially if you zoom out and you look at life in the totality. And I think that's one of the main things that I wanted to bring to you today, was to expand your idea of what it means to be a productive human being, what it means to be working on yourself, what it means to be successful, what it means to be happy. Expand that idea. Don't limit it to these tiny things, these small aspects of your life, because what you'll do is you'll extract energy from all the other aspects of your life, and sort of maybe become weaker in them and become less accustomed to them, or want to avoid them, whereas maybe you don't need to. Maybe you need to go in there, learn that lesson, you know. So that is the main one, and I feel that understanding can bring so much power, because when you realize that every aspect of your life is as important as the other one, doesn't matter if it's putting clothes on or closing $1 million deal, or whatever the case is, those are all equally as important. Once you realize that, I feel that you can start giving yourself a greater power for life, a greater power for your existence, because now when anything comes into your existence, when anything comes into your life, you can embrace it for what it is, truly see it for what it is, and know exactly what you have to do for it, without having these unhealthy attachments to those main goals that you have in life and those main projects that you have in life. And I think, well, for me personally, once I made that connection, and once I had that realization and expanded my mind, it gave me so much power to embrace every moment of life that's coming at me, and know that yes, I might not be creating content for Chat of Africa, I might not be moving as quickly as I would technically like to. Yes, I'm not doing that, but I'm doing something also very important that nobody's going to see but me. But the important part is that I need to go through that, and I need to see it, and I need to do it. So it's becoming a piece with that as well. But yeah, that's the main topic, and the main message I wanted to get out there was how that affected me, and then also how I truly believe that I can help a lot of people in their process by expanding their idea of what is it to be a human being, what is it to be productive, what is it to grow consciously, what is it to learn about self, expanding that into a much broader playing field, much broader canvas, so that there's more room for us to paint a more beautiful picture. Cool, guys. Have a beautiful day. It's the Chat of Africa. So much love.